very much, Stefan. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. Jeff, I salute you and everything that you've done to push social entrepreneurship forward. And Marcus, in a way, has given me the perfect lead-in, which is the empowerment of social entrepreneurs, which is who you are. Each of us has come here today after a long journey of many years involving costly effort and resources and much passion. And what has driven us here is a desire to help others, because we realize that something is fundamentally wrong with our society. When I came up to Oxford, equality of opportunity was the slogan. Today, I have to admit it's an empty slogan, because those who are left behind are left permanently behind. And what does equality of opportunity mean for a child born into a family where both parents are unemployed and in the grip of a drug habit? If you look at how we've tried to deal with social issues, you begin to realize that our system deals with its financial and economic consequences very effectively, but does not deal with its social consequences. Philanthropy, 150 years ago, began to target social issues. By the 1930s, even though foundations had got tax status and exemptions, philanthropists were throwing their hands up at social issues, and governments took over. By the mid-1940s, we began to see the creation of many welfare states. And today, governments are throwing their hands up. If you look at government expenditure since 2008 on the provision of social services, it's flat. The needs have been rising because of the crisis and are going to continue to rise because of an aging population everywhere in the world. And governments cannot cope. And so we've been searching for many years now for the way to bring about a revolution. And the word revolution is a word that I'm hearing increasingly frequently when one talks about social issues. As chairman of the G8 established task force on social impact investment, I have heard countless social entrepreneurs present, countless social investors, countless ministers, countless financiers. And the common theme is it cannot go on as it's doing now. We need a revolution in the way that we tackle social issues. If we don't find more effective ways of tackling them, not only are we going to find ourselves living in a society whose social fabric is rent by social division and violence, but we're going to live in a deeply unfair society, and it is going to corrode our values. And so I'm here today to open a window on the empowerment that Marcus talked about. When I last spoke at the Skoll Forum about 5 years ago, we were talking about releasing unclaimed assets. Here in the UK now, we have £600 million in big society capital, 2/3 of which comes from bank accounts that had been separated from their owners for 15 years ago, or more. We have 24 organizations in the UK which are capable of pushing forward a social agenda using these new tools. The same is true in the United States, in Canada, in Australia. And the breakthrough in thinking came about 3 years ago, when the social impact bond was devised. And the breakthrough wasn't the social impact bond in itself. It was saying, we've always assumed that we cannot measure social outcomes. We cannot measure the performance of a social organization. And that's why social organizations have had to rely on philanthropists, like many of us in this room today, who have given us money for 2 or 3 years and said, after that, as a sanity check, go raise it from somebody else, and please don't spend any money on your overheads. When the Social Impact Bond was developed in 2010, and the Ministry of Justice in the UK agreed that if we raised £5 million to deal with the prisoners of Peterborough Jail, 2/3 of whom reoffend within a year of their release, a percentage that exists everywhere across the world, 2/3 of released young prisoners reoffend within 18 months of their release. And we said to the government, we will work with not-for-profits. We will fund them with £5 million. And if we fail to reduce the rate of reoffending over 7 years by 7.5%, the money will be lost. But if we are able to reduce it by 7.5% to 15%, then government will pay back the £5 million and an increasing yield that goes from 2 to 13%. And the punchline, ladies and gentlemen, government would only be paying out between 1/3 and 1/2 of the saving in the first year from improving those people's lives and giving them the chance to become productive members of society. The linking of a social performance and the financial return is what we've been looking for. It is the key to the revolution. It is the key to the capital markets. It is the key to giving social entrepreneurs and the organizations they lead access to capital on the same basis as a for-profit entrepreneur. Now, I've been lucky enough to have been involved in one revolution. It was the tech revolution. And we needed a financing response for young tech entrepreneurs, and Jeff will be smiling here, who very often had a great idea, but no business plan, no business experience, no financial savvy, and thought they could revolutionize our lives. We have reached the stage now where we have the ability to do the same for social entrepreneurs. I can see social entrepreneurs looking ahead 5 and 10 years, developing innovative models to tackle social issues such as those that we saw here, measuring the performance on the social objectives that they set out, that investors invested in, and increasing the size of their organizations to tackle the target population that they aspire to help. If an organization is helping 700 homeless people in the UK when there are 30,000, it can now have the capital to begin to think of helping half that number or more. Social entrepreneurs will be able to decide whether they want to use a not-for-profit model to raise capital through social impact bonds, quasi-equity, subordinated debt, unsubordinated debt, to build their organizations in the same way that business entrepreneurs have been able to do. And those who use not-for-profit organization structures are going to be those who depend on the help of the community to achieve the social goals. And those who aspire to do things through markets, to harness the power of markets, those will opt perhaps for a profit with purpose organization structure. And there will be new corporate forms that lock in the social mission of organizations in the way that benefit corps have started to do in the United States. And it will become a feature of both the non-profit social entrepreneurs and the profit with purpose ones, that they set ahead of time objectives and they measure continuously their performance. We've heard a lot about the invisible hand of markets. Let us bring the invisible heart of markets to help those whom the invisible hand has left behind.